link your identity to the company, you give your entire soul to it. So that's what you want to do. You want to link that identity to your company, but it's very difficult to do if you're not a Google, right? You don't have the brand name to do that. How do you do it? Well, you need to craft experience, job experience that are so unique and so out of the ordinary that the people will come back and tell their friends and their family about it. For example, what we do is we do 7 days offsite to Bali. We bring all our developers, the new hires, and a few of the core team. Everything is paid, it's a great villa, we have a cook, we have a masseuse, and then we bring them all together at one place. That's great because first of all, you have a face-to-face interaction, which makes it way easier afterwards to do remote because you can ask questions easily, you're not scared of it. Second, you can push the work culture and work ethics that is there. For example, us, we work during the weekend, and it's fine because it's all about pushing for the product out and also taking care of the people outside. So that's why we have like a cook and a masseuse to make sure that everything is great. The last part, which is the most important, is actually a lot of these guys have sometimes even never traveled. We have employees who had to do their own passport. And guess what? That's fantastic. Because when they go back to their home, it's an experience that they'll always remember, and they'll tell all their friends about it. And all of that costs like $800 per employee per week, so very cheap to get. The last part is about to do training. So if I was to pick a issue, maybe not an issue, but yeah, downside with the talent here, and obviously I'm generalizing, but it will be a lack of creativity and maybe a lack of ownership. But those are teachable skills. The hunger and being passionate, that's very difficult to teach. But teaching ownership, that's way easier. The best thing to do that is to actually push people to do mistakes. I always find it funny when I was working in Fortune 500 type of companies where they say their culture is about innovation, but then when you make mistakes or when you run failed experiments, you get completely trashed by your meeting. And that happened to so many friends I had. You can't have people who are scared of making mistakes push for innovation. That's not possible. So at VID, what we do is we push people to do fast experiments. If they fail, great, it's okay. The second part is actually a tactic that I took from McKinsey, which is called the obligation to dissent, which means that no matter who you are and no matter who is speaking, whether you are the CEO or an intern, if you don't agree with what's being said or what is being written, you have to speak up. This slows down slightly your decision making, but at least you are sure that you don't have any blind spot, and it pushes people to own at least their opinion, which is great. Alright, now you have your team, you have a direction, you also want to know how to automate and how to pivot your entire product. What I believe in is you should start very, very, very manual. And it's completely fine to be manual. I feel like a lot of people are ashamed by saying that they're doing things manually, but if you think about it, Stripe or DoorDash are doing things extremely manually at the beginning. For those who don't know, DoorDash is a food delivery platform. The ancestor of GrabFood, they're worth 60 billion or something in the US. And very famously, their founders, the MVP that they had was just to put pictures of restaurants menu on the website with a phone number. Clients would call that phone number, you would ring the founder's phone, the founders would write down the order, then they would call themselves to the restaurant, go pick up the order, and serve the customers. You really can't do more manual than that. And it's fine. It's fine. Why? Because the experience from the client perspective, they think it's a great tech behind. Actually, you have an army of people doing things, but it's okay. And you actually want your engineers to do things manually, because when comes the time to automate it, then they know all the pain, they know all the intricacies of what they need to automate, then they go very fast. So how do you automate it? Do it in a very scrappy way. Scrappy meaning use like Zapier, NSN, scripts, things that are non-scalable. It's fine. You are trying to push your product as fast as possible out to get feedback, right? So automate in a very, very lean way. And again, what to automate? Automate for quality of life and user experience for your user. Don't automate for your own quality of life, because that can come later. A few tools to kickstart your startup. Again, it's very personal here, but what we're doing is Zapier NSN for automation. We use GitHub Copilot, ChatGPT for coding. Actually, we use ChatGPT for everything. We use our own tool, AI Piping, to do B2B sales on Autopilot, DealSlick for HR accounting, and one that I love is actually Loom, which does, for those who don't know, asynchronous video communication. And this enables you to record your screen and record yourself and send the video as a message. And that avoids so many meetings. Because what I realized is, if you think about it, your value per hour, maybe $200 per hour for one founder. You have two founders, that's already $400, plus two employees at $50. You have a meeting that costs $500 per hour. Are you really creating $500 value in that meeting? Probably not. So use Loom. And also, I noticed that engineers, they tend to stop working 20, 30 minutes before the meeting, and they can't get back in the zone right after the meeting either. So that meeting cost is actually enormous. So avoid all the meetings with Loom. I'm not sponsored by anyone. Moving on to the next part. Since it's so easy to build an AI company, how can you get a moat, a defensible moat? First, I really strongly believe that AI is a community. The same way as no one nowadays is saying that they are building an internet company, I predict that in 5 years' time, no one would say that they are building an AI company. Because AI is so ubiquitous, it's so much everywhere, in all the SaaS that you are using, like HubSpot, Salesforce, Microsoft, Suite like Excel, anything. Everyone has AI, so that's not a differentiator anymore. How do you find your differentiator and how do you find your moat? Well, you need to think one step further. You need to think about what generative AI enables you to do that hopefully wasn't possible before. So if you take a few steps back, generative AI enables you to do at scale. Creation, reviewing things, analyzing, personalizing, and so on and so forth. So what? What does it unlock? For us, for example, we set out to build hyper-personalized email at scale. So we're actually sending thousands and thousands of emails that are fully, truly personalized to the recipient. We realized that by doing that, we're actually doing a lot of permutation in those emails. Like, are those emails long, are they short, are they super salesy or super laid-back? Do you have like case studies? Or do you have a call to action directly? All of those different parameters, we have now tons of data because we're sending it at scale. It wasn't possible before because personalizing emails before was very costly. And it took like 15 minutes per sales rep to do that. Now we have that, and we put all of this information into a machine learning model that now is able to tell us, for any specific prospect, how to maximize the interaction, to maximize the conversion with them. And that's common. It's not the AI. The AI is just a commodity that we're using and we can swap between LLMs without issues. Again, on defensibility, two ways of thinking about it, especially about barriers. You have the more common one, which is a product-centric barrier, which is the majority of companies, because of economies of scale, because of specific tech, the product becomes very hard to duplicate. You can't really do much there. But the second part is the interesting one, the customer-centric defensible moat. It's when the more a customer uses your product, the stronger the performance of that specific client. So think about Spotify, for example. The more you use and you listen to the music and you put the likes, the better the recommendation, the more you put soundtracks in the playlist, the better the product. This is what you want to do. For us, for example, for emails, the more a customer sends emails, the more refined those emails are and the higher the conversion. And it means that our customers will not churn. They won't go to a competitor because all this won't be able to be exported. And we just need to capture more and more customers because they won't go away. The key thing here is about pricing and to price sufficiently high that those customers that you keep can maintain the moat. On pricing, there's also a great part here is that generative AI, the value add that it brings, is actually comparable to the value that an employee brings. And that's fantastic because an employee costs 5 digits per year, so around like 10K, 30K, 50K per year. If you're bringing equivalent in terms of value, you can probably charge at that level. So if you look at the chart on the right, these are those ways to make a $100 million business in terms of revenue. So it's a whole spectrum, right? On one end of the spectrum, you have the elephants of the world. You are targeting companies who pay you 100K per year, and you just need 1,000 customers to get to 100 million. So this is the type that I like Salesforce. On the whole other end of the spectrum, you have the mices and the flies who are paying $10 to $100 per year. Those are, let's say, like Spotify, Netflix, and you need 10 or like 1 or 10 million of those customers to make $100 million business. But the key thing here, and the one you want to focus on, are tier. Those tiers, they are willing to pay 5 digits. And the interesting part is the rabbit, which is the brown thing in the middle that you can't really recognize, and the mice. These guys are the SMEs that are now willing to pay the pricing of the tier. So you're pushing all of this market up because of the value that you're bringing, which means that you can target so much more of the market now. Moving on to the last slide about funding. What I believe strongly here is it's a difficult environment, and on top of that, what I mentioned about the noise in the market, the fact that it's very difficult for clients to differentiate between different companies. I believe it's the same thing for investors. It's extremely hard for them to differentiate between different startups to invest on. And when an investor doesn't know what to do, then they look at the metrics, the quantifiable things, like your traction and everything. The issue is if you are a pre-seed company or an early company, you don't have those metrics. Like we actually had a VC asking us, and we are in the pre-seed stage, we are still in beta. VC actually asked us the customer acquisition cost per country. And it's like ridiculous, there's no way we have that information, right? And I don't blame them, they are frozen. The problem of having frozen investors who can't make decisions is you as a founder, you are losing a lot of time as well, because fundraising is a full-time job. It's taking time away from building the product or talking to customers. And then you get into a very vicious circle where, because you are talking to VCs, you are not talking to customers, you are not having more traction, but the VCs are asking for traction, so you're stuck there. So my opinion here is keep all of that, raise the money that is way faster to raise, and you have two ways, right? You have the people basically who know deeply something. Either they know deeply about you, so those are the friends and family. So I wasn't lucky because my family are immigrants, moved to France, so we didn't get a lot of luck there, but I was lucky with colleagues and bosses from SAP and BCG, so consulting firm partners who were okay with me. So those are very fast, very easy to get. The second part is try to get all the people who know your product and know your market deeply. Because these guys will understand what you're building and will see the value. And for example, those are the subject matter experts or actually your clients. And funnily enough, like several talks we had with experts ended up, initially it was for interviewing them, getting feedback on the product, and they ended up investing. And this is a great thing, like we kill two birds with one stone. And this is moving me to the last slide about if you guys know B2B sales, come talk to me, very happy to get in touch with you. If I can help you in any way, I'm here until Saturday, so please get in touch. Thank you so much for your attention.
Wow, Singapore company.
Thank you so much.
Okay.